Hello everyone, this is Gio again for another video. Today we are going to be doing another restoration, and our victim today is a Trackmaster Charlie model. Now you may notice at the beginning of the video I do start with two as I have two to restore, but we will just be doing one today. I'm not sure if I'll even do the other one on video. But this was kindly sent to me by a fellow YouTuber Josh, or you may also know him as his handle is Cali Fan. He sent me him, basically, his motor kind of exploded. Well, not really. It was corroded over, and he was in really bad shape. And he sent it over to me, and he asked him if I can, asked if I can fix him up, and I was delighted to. What's good is that I had two models. One had partial stickers on it, so I had something to work on, which we'll get to later. Right now, I am disassembling the model. I'm going to, after everything's taken apart, I'm going to be taking all the plastic bits, and I'm going to give them a nice soak in some water. And as we go on, as you can see, I'm going to start removing the stickers on the model. At least the ones that are on this model. And this portion that I'm removing right now, I'm going to be replacing with paint, as that's just an easy paintable spot. But the more complex decals, which we'll get to later, we'll be doing on a computer program. So right now I'm tossing them all into a bin. They're all going to be soaked in some warm water. As you can see, the side rods were giving me quite a bit of trouble, but those are all going to be washed, and here I'm removing the weights inside the model. So right now I'm putting just a little bit of a base on top of the boiler area. Then after, I put some green painter's tape on top just so I can get the lines a little more precise, which worked much better. I should have done that in the first place. But I'm just using some acrylic paint, and then after I'm going to be doing a layer of glossy Mod Podge to make sure the paint does not scratch off, because as you know, if you've ever painted something and haven't put in a finish on it, at least for plastic and stuff that have already have paint on it, it's quite a bit of a pain to keep that paint on. So as you can see, I've taken off the first layer. Well, I've put on the first layer, and then I'm moving on to the sides, and a couple more coats, and it will be perfect. Now is the face. The face was actually very surprisingly easy compared to other faces I've had to paint in the past. The hardest part was getting out the gunk, and I had to use a toothpick to kind of pick out all the, I guess, Play-Doh or other substances that was left in there. But once it was out, I used the different toothpick, not the same one, to paint eyebrows on, which actually came out quite nice. I find depending on what type you're doing, they can come out either very badly or very good. Those ones came out very well. I know in other experiences I've had to do them millions times over, but here I'm taking all the painter's tape off the boiler because that is completely done. And then after that, I'm putting on the coat of Mod Podge. Again, I'm not sponsored, but if they want to sponsor me, I'll be happy to take it. But putting on that there, I put a little too much. I put some on the plastic, so you can see in the after shots there's a bit of brush stroke left, which I should have gotten rid of. But I guess that means it's going to stay on. One of the last paint details I had to do around the smokestack area, I hope that's the right term, was using some gold detailing for the light in front of the funnel, and the, I guess, kind of posts holding it in place. So that was very nice. I always love some gold detailing. Lastly, some more paint details. This was done to the, I guess, footplate area. I had to mix a certain color of red because on certain Trackmaster models where there is painted areas, sometimes the red differentiates from model to model. On Charlie here is more of an orange red color, so I put some mixed quite a bit of red and orange, and I got the perfect kind of color. I originally was going to do touch-ups, but then I decided just to paint the whole thing, which ended up looking very nice, except for the wheel. I just painted a touch-up on the wheel, but the buffer areas were all completely repainted red, and it actually turned out very nice. I'm actually really happy how that turned out. Afterwards, that got covered, as you would guess, with a layer of Mod Podge, gloss Mod Podge, and it looks very nice. I would have liked it to go on a little more smoother, and I guess that's the part where you say, well, maybe you should be doing it with an airbrush. I'm currently doing this with no money gain, so hey, if these get any tractions, maybe I will start doing it with an airbrush. But lastly is always the most satisfying part, pulling off the painter's tape. And it is a bit messy. I went in there with a toothpick and I cleaned it out, and it looks so much better. It does look a bit dull, the first layer, before you put on the shine or the finish coat of the Mod Podge, but it looks really nice in my opinion. And lastly, of course, I will be painting the buffers themselves with some black paint, and worked very well. Just used a toothpick there because I didn't want to use anything too big for the application process, but worked out very nice. And then once the Mod Podge was applied, it worked perfect. Lastly, instead of getting a new coupler, I just decided to salvage the old one. There was just a bit of a crack in it, but I just got some super glue on top of there, and it worked out perfect. Right here is we have the model. I've put it in a mix of some baking soda, so it's just going in there just trying to get rid of the corrosion. Baking soda and water. There are much better explanations online of how to get rid of corrosion in Trackmaster stuff, so I'll save at least my thoughts of it for another video. Now here you can see I've pulled in a Trackmaster 2 Thomas using some special screwdriver, I was able to break inside the model, and I've taken the motor out of there, and I'm going to be putting it in Charlie's I guess motor chassis. Here I'm using a pair of pliers just to rip it off, which was very difficult. I'm not sure if I got it off on camera, but I eventually did get it off. You can also criticize me saying I can just pick up one of those motors on eBay for like $2-3, which I should have done, but usually those take around a month to get here, and I just had the Trackmaster 2 Thomas, which did not work on most of my track, so I just said I'll just use that. Here we're seeing the final motor assembly, and it's all coming together. Of course, there's always times where it's a bit difficult to get everything in place, but there it is all together, putting the final screws in. And if you were wondering, I did not get it on video, but yes, the motor does work. The corroded portions I wasn't able to get them perfect, but they work well enough that the model does work when you turn it on. And the pieces, and it just fits in like it is on the video. And it's going a bit fast, but yeah, once that screws in there, it works out perfectly. Here's the final assembly. I'm screwing the motor into the chassis there, and then I'm putting on the foot plate, which is the term I called it something else before, but there you go, I'm using the proper term now. Foot plate is getting screwed in, and I'm not sure if I got the final layer of Mod Podge captured on tape, but it was painted with Mod Podge, so it's all protected now. So it is all coming together. And then finally just putting the weights back in the model in the back of the cab. And the final screw in, and he's basically done, but you may be noticing that he's missing something very important. And now we're moving on to that. Now it is the stickers. So the first thing I did was I took the other model I had, scanned him into the computer using a standard scanner, and I cropped it to just see the size of the, just so it's on scale with the model, just so I got the perfect size for it. And then after, I took the scan that I did and plopped it into my main editing software, which is GIMP. You may notice through the GIMP, I guess this isn't a tutorial for how to make graphics, but you may notice I do use quite a bit of, I guess, ghetto methods to try to get the shape perfect. And I basically got it I'd say almost perfect. It's not 100% perfect to how it should be, but it's pretty close. One of the things I did is, you'll may notice later, I made the purple color a bit too warm. At least you'll notice close to the end, because I thought the printing was too cool. I thought the scanner of it was too cool, so I made it a bit warm, but then after with that I kind of messed it up, which I regret doing. But yeah, that's it turned out pretty well. All the details traced decent enough. The one thing that you'll notice is that the number 14, I used the Flang font, which is the font that's used through most Thomas projects, and unfortunately it did not match. So later I went in and I literally traced the number itself, and I got it perfect. So if anybody is making a Charlie out there or has one missing the decals, I may release these, but it just didn't turn out to it's not something that because when it's shrink down on the model it looks fine, but as the file itself it just doesn't look as good as I wanted it to be. But it did the job, I guess. So that's what matters. Lastly, of course, was printing and cutting it out, and we'll see how that looks all in a second. So here is the final model all together, all pieces put together, and I have to say I am quite proud of it. Again, this isn't a really professional thing. This is just me having fun and seeing if I can make something look almost as new as it might have been when you picked it up, or maybe slightly used, I think is the better term, but I'm very proud of the final result. I haven't really attempted something this much of a restoration, at least on a Thomas toy before, so I'm very proud of how it looks. The decals, as I mentioned before, the purple is a bit on the warm side. It's more of a pinkish purple rather than a bluish purple, but I think it looks very nice. Could also argue that I need to replace the name board on the side. I guess that'd be the right name, or the nameplate, but for now I think I'll keep it. I don't think my printer can do detailing that big. But that's it for this restoration. I hope you enjoyed. I'd like to do these live in future, so if you consider subscribing, that'd be great. Thank you for watching.